Thomas Jefferson had a problem. New Orleans sat at the mouth of the Mississippi River, and the Mississippi controlled the future of the American interior. Farmers in Kentucky, Tennessee, Ohio, and the growing settlements farther west did not have highways, railroads, or trucks. They had rivers. Their crops, timber, pork, flour, and tobacco moved downstream toward New Orleans, then out into the Gulf of Mexico, then into the markets of the world. If a foreign empire controlled New Orleans, it could strangle the young United States without firing a single shot. Across the Atlantic, Napoleon Bonaparte had reshaped Europe. France had pressured Spain. Britain and France were drifting toward another war, and now Louisiana, a vast territory west of the Mississippi, had returned to French control. So Jefferson sent men to Paris with a simple mission: buy New Orleans, maybe a little land around it, secure the river that secured America's western future. Napoleon offered something much larger, not just the city, not just the port, all of Louisiana. A massive imperial claim stretching from the Mississippi River toward the Rocky Mountains. $50 million. The United States could nearly double in size. But Jefferson's opportunity came with a problem he could not ignore. The Constitution did not clearly say whether a president could buy foreign territory and add it to the Union. Jefferson had spent much of his political life arguing for limited federal power. Presidents, he believed, should not invent authority just because the opportunity was tempting. He considered asking for a constitutional amendment that would have made the purchase legally clean. Then he looked at the calendar. Napoleon could change his mind. Britain and France could go to war. Spain could complicate everything. The window might close. So Jefferson chose action over principle. He said yes. The treaty was approved. The money was paid. Louisiana became American on paper. Because what France had sold was not a fully governed country. It was an imperial claim with unclear borders, an unmapped interior, old trade routes, and people who did not speak English, follow American law, or consider themselves future citizens of the United States. Native nations already governed much of the land in practice: the Osage, Pawnee, Omaha, Mandan, Hidatsa, Lakota, Cheyenne, Comanche, Caddo, Quapaw, and many others were not background figures waiting for America to arrive. They were powers on the ground with their own diplomacy, economies, and claims that France had never actually controlled. New Orleans itself was Catholic, French-speaking, Spanish-influenced, Caribbean-connected, and built on slavery. Its laws were different. Its loyalties were complicated. Jefferson had not just bought land. He had bought a management problem the size of a continent. And before America could even understand the size of that problem, one of its own leaders looked west and saw something dangerous, not a republic, an opportunity. In 1806, Aaron Burr, the former Vice President of the United States and the man who had killed Alexander Hamilton in a duel 2 years earlier, was arrested and charged with treason. The accusation was explosive. Burr was accused of plotting to seize part of the Louisiana Territory and establish his own independent power in the West. The details are still debated. Was he planning to break away American territory? Was he planning to invade Spanish Mexico? Was it both? The exact scheme was never fully proven in court, and Jefferson, who despised Burr personally, may have pushed the prosecution beyond what the evidence supported. But Burr's guilt is not the only reason the story matters. The scandal revealed what Louisiana looked like from the ground. It was huge, it was distant, it was loosely governed, and it was far enough from Washington that a former vice president could imagine carving out a future there for himself. Burr looked at the map and saw a vacuum. He was not wrong that the vacuum existed. The United States had claimed Louisiana, but claiming land and governing land were not the same thing. That is why Jefferson needed more than a treaty. He needed information. The Lewis and Clark expedition is often remembered as adventure, and it was, but it was also government moving west. Jefferson wanted rivers mapped, native nations contacted, resources cataloged, and the possibilities of the continent brought back to Washington. Information was the first step toward control. After the explorers came surveyors, land offices, speculators, settlers, soldiers, and forts. River landings became settlements. Trading posts became military positions. A borderland became territory. But settlers moved faster than Washington could manage. They crossed lines before ownership was settled. They pushed into contested places, provoked conflicts with native communities, and then demanded federal protection after creating facts on the ground. For native nations, the purchase was not a bargain, it was a signal. A new power had arrived, claiming authority over lands it did not understand and could not yet fully hold. That claim hardened over time into pressure, then removal, then wars that would continue for most of the century. But the pressure was not only moving west through native land, it was also moving south, toward the old empire that still controlled Texas. France had sold a claim, but the claim had no precise southern or western border. Spain still held territory nearby, and no one fully agreed where Louisiana ended. Before the purchase, the Mississippi had been America's western frontier. After the purchase, it started to look like the center. That change mattered. Once Americans began thinking of the Mississippi as the center, the land beyond it no longer felt like the edge of the world. It felt like the next step. And Napoleon helped create that next step in a way almost no one could have predicted. He sold Louisiana, partly because the Haitian Revolution had destroyed his plans for a Caribbean stronghold. Without Haiti as a supply base, Louisiana was exposed, expensive, and difficult to defend. So he sold it, took the money, and turned his attention back to Europe. Then he invaded Spain. That invasion shook the Spanish world. Across the Americas, colonies began breaking away. Mexico fought for independence and eventually emerged along America's southwestern border. The same chain of ambition that put Louisiana in American hands also helped create the Mexico that America would later fight. And once that border changed, the pressure did not stop. Texas became the flashpoint, then came annexation, then came war, then came California, New Mexico, and the rest of the continental United States. None of this was automatic. People made choices. Leaders debated. Wars were started. Treaties were signed. Different decisions could have led to a different continent. But the Louisiana Purchase had changed the imagination of the country. The map doubled, and American ambition expanded with it. Politicians talked about destiny. Settlers kept moving. And the continent began to feel like something America was meant to fill. Destiny is a dangerous idea when other people are already living where you intend to go. But even that was not the most dangerous pressure released by the purchase. The deepest crisis was already inside the United States, before Jefferson bought a single acre from France. The purchase simply gave it room to spread. The United States had been born with a contradiction at its core. It declared liberty while protecting human bondage. It built a republic on enslaved labor, and it survived by keeping that contradiction carefully contained. Louisiana made containment harder. Every new territory raised the same question: would slavery be permitted there? This was not only a moral debate, it was a political calculation. Each new state shifted the balance of power in Congress. Free states and slave states watched each other's count obsessively, counting senators, counting votes, and counting futures. Missouri forced the crisis into the open. When Missouri applied to enter the Union as a slave state, it threatened to tip the Senate. The South saw opportunity. The North saw a line being crossed. Congress negotiated a settlement. Missouri entered as a slave state. Maine entered as a free state. And a geographic line was drawn across the Louisiana Purchase territory, with slavery restricted north of it. Thomas Jefferson, in retirement at Monticello, read the news and called it a firebell. In the night, he was terrified, not only because slavery had divided the country, but because the division had now been drawn onto a map. The argument had a border, and once an argument has a border, the next question is what happens when someone crosses it. For a generation, the Missouri Compromise held. Then the Kansas-Nebraska Act reopened the question. New territories could now vote on whether to allow slavery. Settlers poured into Kansas not just to farm, but to decide the future of the country by force. Two competing governments formed. Violence broke out. Newspapers called it Bleeding Kansas. It was not just a political crisis, it was a rehearsal. The argument that had been delayed since the founding was now moving west, with the settlers, the surveyors, the land offices, and the flags. Jefferson bought the land in 1803. He died in 1826, 50 years, to the day after the Declaration of Independence, not knowing whether the republic he had helped build could survive the forces he had helped unleash. The final answer came in 1861, when the argument that had been spreading across the continent finally became a war. Jefferson's negotiators went to Paris to buy a port city on a river. They came back with half a continent. At first it looked like genius. The Mississippi was secure. France was gone. The United States had room to grow. But the map was easier to change than the country. Every mile west pulled America deeper into questions it had avoided since the founding. Who controlled land already occupied? How far could a republic expand before it started acting like an empire? And what did liberty mean in a country still built on slavery? Jefferson died in 1826. 50 years to the day after the Declaration of Independence, he did not live to see the answer. He did not see Kansas bleed. He did not see southern states leave the Union. He did not see the war that finally came in 1861. But the purchase he made helped draw the battlefield. America got the greatest deal in its history, then discovered the price was not paid in Paris. It was paid across the continent.